Hey, welcome and thank you so much for joining us on China 24. I'm Ni Yuan, coming to you live in Beijing. Coming up on China 24.
The new law will create a deterrent effect against masked violent protesters and rioters.
Hong Kong bans people from wearing face masks in public. An update on travel conditions during this National Day holiday week in China. China's story of gender equality is told through 3 generations of one family. And one man tells how his family's tradition is the keeping of tradition through careful maintenance of the country's relics. We begin in Hong Kong, where Chief Executive Carrie Lam has announced a new regulation banning protesters from wearing masks. Well, Lam says the ban, designed to end violence and restore order, will come into effect from midnight. Unrest has raged for months in Hong Kong as radical protesters, often black masked, set fires on the streets, vandalize public facilities, and assault police as well as innocent bystanders.
As the current situation has clearly given rise to a state of serious public danger, the Chief Executive in Council decided at a special meeting this morning to invoke the power under the Emergency Regulations Ordinance and make a new regulation in the name of Prohibition on Face Covering Regulation, which is essentially an anti-mask law, something which has already been introduced in a number of jurisdictions around the world and discussed here in Hong Kong. We believe that the new law will create a deterrent effect against masked violent protesters and rioters and will assist the police in its law enforcement.
And earlier, our reporter Xu Xinchen in Hong Kong explained anti-mask law's background and how the locals there are reacting to the law. Have a listen.
Protesters already took to the street around noon on Friday, even before the official announcement of the anti-mask law, and more went to protest after the official announcement came out, forcing shops to close in Causeway Bay and the Central, two busiest commercial centers in Hong Kong, and burning banners for celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. The possible use of the Emergency Regulations Ordinance and an anti-mask law first surfaced in August. While many supported the legitimacy of using these laws, some argued that, first, the Emergency Regulations Ordinance, which has not been invoked in over half a century since the 1920s, could be outdated, and second, an anti-mask law could agitate protesters, as some might see it as similar to the already abandoned fugitive bill. Yet, lawmakers we spoke with have been urging the government to use all options to defuse the crisis and bring peace back to Hong Kong, including banning masks during protests. Hong Kong's Secretary for Security Zhang Li said that the marches in Hong Kong have proceeded peacefully in the past 22 years, but only turned to chaos with proliferation of masks in recent months. The Hong Kong Commerce and Industry Associations also issued a statement Friday evening to support the rolling out of the anti-mask law to help restore peace in Hong Kong. Xu Xinchen, CGTN.
Earlier, we talked to Lawrence Ma. He's the Executive Council Chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation. He explains some of the legal nuances of this action by Hong Kong.
Many people would have thought that the state of emergency is something that is prescribed under the Basic Law, Article 18.4, where the Basic Law, Article 18.4 says that the Central People's Government, particularly the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, when it sees fit, they can declare Hong Kong into a state of war or a state of emergency. Now, these two situations really means that the central government is going to intervene by troops or by military force into the affairs of Hong Kong. And that only happened when Hong Kong internally cannot manage or control the chaos, turmoil, or riots. And therefore, it requires the central government's intervention. That is the state of emergency people are talking about. But this, actually, in Hong Kong, this is not the case. Hong Kong police and Hong Kong government can internally and also can effectively manage Hong Kong's local situation because they can empower the police with better or heavier equipments and weapons to deal with the situation. They can now also, for example, enact better laws and regulations for the purpose of enforcing or ensuring that these protests would end. Now, Hong Kong government can manage this internally, and they are doing it now. So this is not a state of emergency. It is at best an occasion of emergency, of public danger that requires the Hong Kong government to intervene for the sake of public security and public safety. So this is lawful because the regulation actually complies with the law. The law actually authorizes the making of such a regulation. And the law is constitutional. It complies with the basic law. So, and it is necessary now for the Hong Kong government to take positive and more positive measures to deal with the current riots.